Hello, sister friends. In this week's episode, we'll take a look at domestic abuse. The impact of domestic abuse is far-reaching and can have a lasting and traumatic effect on the lives of everyone involved. As we observed Domestic Abuse Month in October, let's take time today to continue shedding light upon this growing epidemic. With our sister friends, let's have a conversation. Hello, welcome to Sister Friends, Cups and Conversation. I'm your host, Teresa Cooper, and I'm glad that you've joined us today. And I've got a very powerful table on today that's going to be joining the conversation. And so I'm glad that you are here. Of course, I have Miss Catherine Young, my co-host, the director at Care Parenting Center. And then I have my new friend, Miss Penny. Miss Penny is a domestic abuse survivor.
Yes.
Amen. And she's around the table with us today. And then I have our professional here, Miss Chanel Willis. And Chanel comes from Project Celebration.
Yes.
And so we're glad to have her at the table today. And she talks and does seminars and works with Project Celebration as an advocate for domestic abuse survivors, correct?
That is correct.
Yes. And so I've got a great table here today, and we're going to have a very serious conversation about domestic abuse. And our cup for today, now the ladies have our Sister Friends cup, and I have the cup for today that we're featuring is Beautifully Broken, because we're talking about domestic abuse, which is a hard topic, but a necessary topic to talk about. And many times when we're going through domestic abuse, we feel broken. We feel broken physically, mentally, emotionally, and even spiritually at times. But the promise of God is that He gives us beauty for our ashes, and He makes beautiful things out of our brokenness. So we are beautifully broken, and we can get on the other side of abuse. Yes, we can.
Yes.
And so we're going to talk today about that, about getting on the other side of domestic abuse. And, you know, it's really important that we have this conversation, because they say that breaking the silence breaks the cycle.
Absolutely.
Breaking the silence breaks the cycle. And so we're going to have this conversation today. Domestic violence can be a physical or a psychological, and it can affect anyone of any age, any gender, race, or sexual orientation. It may include behaviors meant to scare, physically harm, or control a partner. While every relationship is different, domestic violence generally involves an unequal power dynamic in which one partner tries to assert control over the other in a variety of ways. Now that's the textbook definition, ladies, right?
That's right.
But it just to break it down in everyday conversation, love don't hurt.
That's right.
Okay?
Absolutely.
That's just to really break it down. Love does not hurt. And so we want to talk about that. And I want to start with Miss Penny, because Miss Penny is our champion today. And Miss Penny, can you just share with us your experience with domestic abuse and how it's affected your life?
Yes. I've been through 3 relationships, and I've had 3 kids out of 2 of them. One, I was with for 2 years, and he was actually very abusive over drugs because I wouldn't give him money.
Okay.
I was pregnant then, and it didn't last but 2 years, but he was in and out of jail a lot. So that was helpful, come to find out, because the next one was in between these 2 fathers I had, which was very crazy. He pulled out guns on us, on me and my children. I used to stand in front of my kids, and he would have a gun. He would hold me up on the wall and, by my neck and punch me. He'll move me sometimes and just make big holes in the wall. That one, I was rescued by this other guy.
Okay.
Because he said that he can, kick him out and, help me out because everybody knew that this guy was very abusive. Come to find out, he actually was abusive to his wife and she almost lost her life, but I didn't listen to anyone.
Okay.
So this last one, to my little boy's father, he moved in, but it wasn't just to kick the other out.
Okay.
He was the worst, and it's a miracle me and my child is here today. Probably all of us. But I was pregnant, and the worst thing that could have happened was I was about 2 months pregnant, and he threw me down and fractured my tailbone.
Oh my goodness.
And
yeah.
made my sac drop, which was pressure on all my main arteries.
Yeah.
And so I had a bunch of heart problems, and they actually wanted to take my baby because they didn't think I was going to make it.
Okay.
But I didn't let them. So we suffered through it, and it was the most horrible pregnancy ever because of domestic violence. And
But you delivered
we
your
are
baby,
here. We are
and
here.
your baby's well.
Yes.
Good. And so, what I've heard, I think I understood you saying that you had 3 relationships
Yes.
that involved domestic abuse, and not just mental, verbal domestic abuse, but literally physical
Yes.
domestic abuse. Let me ask you, because now I know that you're free from those relationships, and it's never appropriate for a man to hit a woman,
Right.
and there's never a reason for a man to hit a woman. But I do want to ask you, have you connected any dots in the sense that how you found yourself attracted to similar type men that were abusive?
I have.
You did?
Because of all the programs I've been through domestic violence shelters, you get counseling and a lot of help and a lot of counseling.
So they were able to help
Yes.
you to connect the dots.
Yes, and personally, from I've got taught all the big X's on what to look for men, definitely, which helped because I was gonna go down the wrong road after moving up here, and I stopped it really short, which
Yeah.
was great news.
So because you knew the signs.
Yes. Personally, I see it more of a spiritual problem because of our spirits may attract to each other.
Okay.
And people say you can run from your or you can't run from your problems. I've come to find out, I did run from my problems, but it still was here, and I found myself in the same situation because of a spiritual thing, the attraction of certain things, I guess you like in a man.
Okay.
And just being attracted to.
Yeah.
So.
Well, Ms. Chanel, listening to Ms. Penny, can you talk a little bit about some of the things that she has said today with any of the clients, any similarities or anything in your experience working?
Yes, the main underlying thing that with any type of domestic violence relationship, whether it be marriage or just a relationship, is the control factor. One, and you stated that earlier in the definition, that the controlling, having that control and using that control is something that once they realize they use it to manipulate people. So is that control, and then them understanding themselves, understanding that they're worth something better.
Yeah.
Right.
And that understanding that, in a sense, that the mental part of it. And so those things are very key in determining what you will accept, what you don't accept.
Right.
So those are things that at Project Celebration we do help with, again, with the counseling, the group counseling. So it makes the survivors feel more at ease on what their next steps are.
Okay, so you all deal with the mental part as far as, because when I mentioned to her about, did you connect the dots? Granted, he's an abuser and he has to take responsibility for his own actions. But then as the woman, making sure that you don't meet another abuser.
Yes, each relationship is different. So it's a real fine line because we don't want the women to feel that it's their fault.
Right, absolutely.
It's never, oh, what did I do, or what something I could have seen, because no one gets in a relationship thinking, oh, he's gonna beat me and that's just the way it is.
Right.
Most of the time, some of those things are played on if he's in a sense, stalking you, wanting to know your whereabouts.
Okay.
Oh, but he loves me. He's trying to keep up with me. No, that's a control issue.
Yeah.
He's giving you a certain amount of money to go shopping. Well, he's giving me an allowance. Well, he shouldn't be giving you an allowance. You
Right.
should have that right. So it's again understanding, and that's something that we tend to touch on, and just making sure they understand that it's never their fault and it's never something they did.
Okay, well, let me ask you this.
Okay.
And I don't even know if I'm even phrasing this correctly, because I absolutely believe there is no, and if you're watching, there is no excuse for a man hitting a woman. There's never a reason, there's never a cause. And those of us that have sons, I have one son and I have 3 grandsons. And it's very important for me to teach my grandsons that it's not okay to hit girls even at 2 and 3 years old. Each of them has a sister. And so we're going to start early. You don't hit your sister, but not only teaching them not to hit, but teaching our daughters, don't hit your brothers.
Right.
You know, respect each other. But even at the end of the day, I think the weight, because physically men are just physically stronger, I think we put the more of the pressure on our boys. No, you don't hit girls because your hand is harder, your hit is stronger. But at the same time, I guess I'm wanting to, we do attract our internal thoughts, and if we have low self-esteem, and if we have low self-worth, where does that play in us attracting certain types of men, even though abusers come in a variety of packages? They can be educated, non-educated.
That is correct.
So can you speak on that?
What that more goes to is really what you would accept. Because
Okay.
just like you said, as far as with low self-esteem, you don't feel you deserve anybody. So if any random person comes up and starts to give you attention, then you're going to accept that. Attention comes in good attention, bad attention, i.e. the abuse. So if you're getting some kind of attention, then it can be warranted that they start to feel, but he loves me. And that's kind of what it goes back to, again, the attention. And I love what you said about teaching your son and grandson, because that's what we said earlier about breaking the cycle. Because if you sometimes think about it, if a little girl gets hit by a boy, oh, he's hitting you because he likes you.
No.
Right.
He shouldn't be hitting you at all. So it's just, again,
Or grabbing.
exactly.
Yes.
Anything physical, and that's where we have to go in, teach our children young.
Right.
It starts at a young age, is that understanding.
Okay.
Let me ask you this question. This basically for you. Most domestic violence cases I've seen, or women that I've talked to, it started like what you said, just the attention. Oh, he really loves me. He cares about me. Shower me with the gifts and attention. And then I started noticing the main thing, the isolation from everybody. He isolates you from your family, friends that could really speak into your life and see what's going on. Was that an issue with each relation, that they isolated you so you couldn't reach out to the community or someone?
Yes. I could not go to my nieces and nephews or sisters' birthday parties. He didn't want me to go to any family holiday gatherings, so I was always at home.
What were the reasons? I mean,
Yeah.
they had to give you, what reasons would he give you? Like, I want to be with you, baby. I just
Yeah.
want
No,
you to
because
myself.
sometimes
But,
he wouldn't even be there anyway.
Okay.
So just because your family don't like me, or just I
Mental
guess
control.
his pride, or he's not for my family because they probably will help me to get out.
okay.
So
But did it make you feel indifferent when he would say those things to you, like, didn't want you to go to those different functions? Did it raise up a flag of some sort? And the reason why I'm asking, so it could be a sign for someone else who's listening to the conversation.
yes, now that I know what the flags are, that is a flag.
Yeah.
Then I didn't know,
Yes,
and
okay.
I just felt lonely and in control, since someone controlling me. I didn't know then, so.
Yeah.
But that is a flag. Very.
Yeah.
That is a flag. Yes.
In my research, and you tell me, Ms. Chanel, if this is correct, that there are 5 types of domestic abuse. There's physical abuse. The form of abuse includes any form of physical contact, because not every abuser is the same.
That's
And
right.
they don't all start at level
Yes.
10. They may graduate in
Yes.
their practice of their abuse. So then there's sexual abuse. Sexual abuse includes any form of unwanted sexual contact or sexual conduct. Okay, and it's repeatedly.
Yes.
Okay, and then there's psychological abuse. Some people aren't getting hit physically,
Yeah.
but they're psychologically being abused. This type of abuse consists of any ongoing actions meant to instill fear.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I think they might start with the fear component first, psychologically, and then they're working, because it's a method.
Yes.
And I think one of the things, and you can correct me if you need to, an abuser is sick.
Yes.
And it's a sickness, and so with that sickness comes symptoms and methods that they probably have practiced how to hone them onto their what they call their victims.
Yes.
Okay, emotional abuse, efforts to destroy a victim's self-worth. So there's physical, and then there's emotional abuse. And then lastly, there's financial abuse, which is withholding resources. Everything that you might need to live or to survive is connected to that particular person. Is there anything you would like to add or comment on about those 5 different abuses?
You're absolutely correct. And it's not just one is more important than the other.
Okay.
It's just like with everyone is different. So for me, money may not be an object, but for the next woman, it may be. So once that person finds what their tick is or what makes them feel some kind of way, then they use that. Again, most abusers are actually smart because they know how to manipulate.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. And so would you say that they may not be practicing all 5 at one time?
Absolutely.
They may, interchange them. And so you might say, well, my man ain't never hit me.
Exactly.
But he's controlling you financially, or
Absolutely.
he's psychologically and emotionally. You feel beat up and abused. You can't talk, you can't think, you can't put your words together because, he overpowers you. That's a form of domestic abuse. Did you experience that, Miss Penny?
Yes, 2 of them hit home pretty hard.
Okay.
The sex, which whenever I moved up here and was in a relationship, found myself back in the same situation, but not for long at all, because I knew then all the signs and I had a made up mind. But he actually started with that, and I didn't want to, he would force it, and I was like, well, that's a big X. So I left him alone. But in the past, there has been the money issue where the one with had a gun pointed to us pretty often. He had a lot of money.
Okay.
Very good job, and had bought a Cadillac, and of course he would let me, use it while he goes to work, drop him off, and like I was, he was helping me out or whatever, and being very nice and kind of Cadillac, and every time he'd come back home, where he was and who you been with, and haven't been nowhere then, but he would really think I was, or it seemed to be like that. And he would get very, very
always accusing you of being somewhere maybe you weren't, or with people that maybe you know. Okay. Let me ask you, were any of the gentlemen that you were involved in, were they religious people that went to church, or no, none at all? Okay. And the only reason why I ask that is because sometimes people think it's just people, non-religious people, people that are secular, but domestic abuse shows up in a variety of organizations and settings.
That's right.
From the highest place to the lowest place, from the most sacred place to the not sacred place, because we're dealing with people.
Correct.
And we're dealing with people's behaviors and their psyche, and sometimes we're dealing with the way people were raised.
Absolutely.
And some men are abusers, and then there are some women that are abusers because they were raised around abuse, and so they think it's normal. And so we're talking about this today, Kathy, because we want people to understand that it's not normal to be controlled by another person. It's not normal to be hit by another person or to be grabbed by another person, or to be psychologically restrained by another person. That's not love. That's not normal. Kathy, is there something you would like to say?
Yeah, I want to ask. I have a scripture for as well, but I want to ask you a question. Do you find that the abuser look for a certain type of woman?
Yes.
Okay, and also, do the abuser usually come from a past family abuse?
That is kind of a gray area because it depends on how they react to it. Because you can have a child raised in that environment, and it could go, well, I'm never going to hit, I'm never going to take it. But then you have that same environment, and then they think that's love. So it's really all in about how they take that and they grow with it.
Right, but the statistics, when I did my research, did say that kids that grow up around abuse are more likely. It's not a guarantee,
Exactly.
but they are more likely.
Because they're exposed to it and they think that's normal. That's how they begin to think that that's how they show love.
Okay. Now, I believe in the redemptive power of God, and I believe in second chances. I believe that people can change. But in reading, they said only 1% of abusers change. You know, that hurt my heart because I'm like, I know there's got to be more than 1% that people, you know, can change. I mean, ultimately, I believe God, if they really have a real encounter with God, you know, God knock you off your horse like he did Paul. Your name was Saul, and now your name is Paul. Come on here. That can happen, okay? But I don't want my daughter to bank her life off of, you know, that hope.
Yes.
You know, I want her to understand that love doesn't hurt.
Right.
So, Miss Penny, tell me, how did you get out?
I was staying in like the projects or whatever you want to call it. And the office ladies, they know that I was always being beat up over there.
Okay.
You know. And one day I went in to pay my rent, and she told me about a domestic violence shelter.
Oh, wow.
I've never heard of any domestic violence shelter or help before, so I was like, what? And so she gave me the number.
Wow.
And actually ended up helping me over there. And domestic violence shelters are a great help. You are, you know, they're secretly.
Yeah, they protect your privacy.
They protect your privacy. They also put you on your feet, help you become independent.
Okay. Yes.
And it was a great help. The only fault is I took him back not once, you know, not twice, but 3. And yeah, it was a process. But I had a made up mind is what got me out this time, because you have to have a make up mind. I don't want this no more,
Right.
especially if you have kids involved. And you know, my kids were getting big, and they seen a lot.
How long has it been since you've been away from him?
8 years.
Oh, yes. So you really had a made up mind. You got away.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's the power of community. She went to pay her rent, and the landlord wasn't just taking her money, but the landlord was paying attention to the condition of her clients, and noticed that she had been, you know, portraying the signs of abuse, and offered you hope. Wow, that is amazing.
Let me ask a question before you read that. And she offered you hope. Were you embarrassed at first, or you were prideful, or
No,
ashamed?
I was kind of shocked because I've never heard of domestic violence,
Okay.
you know, shelters before, and I've been through it so long. I'm like, oh, I'm finally just hearing something. But
Because
yeah,
most
I
of the
wasn't
time when you
shameful.
want to help someone in that situation, they're prideful. Everybody gonna know my business, or if they're in a high profile relationship,
Right.
they'll try to hide it because they don't want to give him up, but they'll keep taking abuse themselves. But what I like what you said the most, Missionary, you say you have to know your worth.
Have to know your word.
I really like that.
Yeah, and I wanted to give these facts quickly. 1 out of every 4 American women report that they have been physically abused by a husband or a boyfriend at some point in their lives. That's 1 out of 4.
That's a lot.
So that's
Out of 4.
there's 4 of us right here.
So that's
And 1, Miss Penny. Yeah. Every 12 seconds, a woman is battered in the United States by every 12 seconds. You count down. Every 12 seconds, a woman is battered in this country, an average of 4 women are murdered by an intimate partner each day. Let that sink in. That breaks my heart. Each day, a woman is murdered. Chanel, I don't know how you do this for a living. I mean, I know how you do it because you have to be passionate. But I mean, like, I could cry right now. Just to think
It's
that,
hard.
yeah.
Because, and then as far as just from my standpoint, giving all of myself, because in the very beginning when I would consider saying I was green, just
Yeah.
I had the bleeding heart. I would take women to their homes to get their things.
Oh my goodness.
And it took my
Wow.
father, like Chanel, what if he was home?
Right.
What if somebody would have called and he come
Right.
home? You could have. So it's just understanding and knowing it's my passion, but realizing what the limits and how I can help. Because like you said, when you were ready, it makes that big difference.
Let me ask this question for those who's watching. Should others step in? Should others come in and say, like you said, you would take the ladies to the homes? If we've been watching the news, especially in Louisiana,
Yes.
we have seen
Yes.
the helper,
Mhm.
the one who comes in to save, be
Yes.
murdered as well. And
There's,
some people don't want to come and they were like, oh, I'm afraid too.
Right.
How should another person come into the situation and be the help?
there's different ways, depending if you know the severity of the situation. First and foremost, call the police.
Yes.
That's just absolute. We would never want you to put yourself in danger. But just say if you go into church or you know at the grocery store and you see someone, you can just slip a note, because not only are you making sure you keeping yourself safe, keeping her safe. Because if he goes through her things or you know finds a note where it's a shelter, oh, what are you doing? And it
Right.
becomes bigger. So it's just being very smart about and calculated about how you step in.
Yeah.
But definitely step in to let them know that there is help.
And there are 3.3 million children who have witnessed domestic violence. 3.3 children who have witnessed it with their eyes. And then those children will grow up and to be adults. And so not only are we charged to love ourselves better by taking care of ourselves, we are charged to also protect the eyes and the emotions and the lives of our children from this type of abuse. So if you're watching today, this is very important what we're talking about. And I want to talk about getting out. So I don't want to just talk about, because the effects of domestic abuse is, you know, ongoing, but there is freedom from it. And Miss Penny is proof of that. But I want to talk about getting out. And Catherine, do you have a scripture? I think you said you had
I
one.
have a scripture, and this will tie in and segue into what, getting out. It says in Psalms 34:18, it says, the Lord is close to the brokenhearted. He rescues those whose spirits are crushed. And I just love that. He rescues us.
Yeah. He absolutely does. And he gives us wisdom, and he put us around people. I believe that it was the Lord that allowed that landlord to notice you and to stop you and to ask you that question. And it provided a window for you, an opportunity. So make plans to get away from your abuser. And I think the key word is make plans. We understand that sometimes you can't get out right away, but you can make plans. You can be preparing yourself. A plan of safety, a plan of action. Continuing, but what you need to realize that to continue to live with your abuser puts you in constant danger of further abuse. Okay, so it's not a good idea to stay in the same household. For those of you that are married, if you are being abused, we're not telling you to go get a divorce, but we're telling you to remove yourself from that physical location. Because it's not safe for you physically. It's not safe for your children. If you're in a situation where you live with your abuser, then the best thing to do is to make plans to get out. And so one of the ways to make plans is to talk to a trusted family member or friend, to develop an escape plan. Okay, think it out and have a plan. You might want to contact the police for sure. Okay, let them know that you're trying to get away and that you're working on a plan, just in case you need to call them 911 right away. Is that
That's correct.
okay? Determine what items you need in advance. Don't get tripped up about, what to take, what not to take, but pack a bag, have an exit. Did you do that, Miss Penny?
No,
You didn't?
no. The domestic violence shelters, especially the one I went through with the Providence House,
Mm-hmm.
they have everything you need.
Okay.
Everything.
So Miss Penny said, just get out.
Just
Don't worry about a bag. The shelter will have what you need. And that's how serious you gotta be.
Yes.
That's how much your mind has to be made up, that you ain't worried about no clothes, you're not worried about this, you're not worried about that. But now some of your stuff, like your driver's license, your social security number, your kids' birth certificates, that need to be already in a Ziploc bag at your ready.
But
If you live in Louisiana, you should have that already because of hurricanes, tornado.
they actually get all that for you too.
Okay, oh, they do?
Yes.
They help. I think
Yes.
things have changed with Providence House because now it's Project Celebration. And when they come to us, we do have the Safe House. We do have advocates that help get those things. But if you call first, that is one, because you have to be in the mindset of, if we try to help you get that, it takes longer, which kind of
Okay, so they could call Project Celebration.
yes.
And tell us a little bit about what Project Celebration does.
Project Celebration, we are a outreach facility as well as a safe house.
Okay.
The safe house is, of course, this undisclosed location.
Okay.
But the number is 318-226-5015. And with that, it's manned 24/7. So no matter what time you call, you will get someone.
That's good.
And we walk you through doing assessments if you need assistance right then.
Okay.
We have ways to get you transportation as far as getting you to a safe house or a safe location. Once in the safe house, like she said, at that point we help with everything. Having shelter, you don't have to worry about food, you don't have to worry about clothes.
Wow.
We have people there that help, if you want to stay, depending on your situation, we can relocate you to another state.
Okay, relocate to another
Yes,
state.
Yes, because we've taken survivors from other states.
Okay.
Because we network with other facilities.
That's great.
And with that, we just a general services, legal assistance, restraining orders,
Mental health.
counselors,
Okay.
groups, one-on-one counseling. We literally cover it all. And that's just the safe house part. We do offer the outreach, where we go into the schools, we go into the workplaces.
Wow.
And give our information, because the key is to let everyone know that we're here.
Yes.
This is what we do.
Yes.
If you need help, call us.
So that's Project Celebration. That's here in Louisiana. And if you're nationally, because we know we have people watch us across the United States, you can call the National Domestic Abuse Hotline at 1-800-799-SAFE, 1-800-799-SAFE. Sister Friends help each other. You may not be experiencing domestic abuse, but if you take down these numbers, take down this information, you can help another sister that's facing domestic abuse. And as Miss Penny said, you just got to get out, and you got to do it with a made-up mind. We love you. Thank you for watching us. We're praying for you. You are a champion, and you will survive. What an insightful conversation we had today discussing domestic abuse. Our prayer is that you received information that has enlightened and empowered you to act, my brave friend. If you or someone you know has been impacted in any way by domestic abuse, we have included a link to the National Domestic Violence Hotline. And again, thanks for joining us this week. And remember to follow us across all our social media platforms.